and it's not getting any better. It's getting worse. So.
Just your final thoughts on the film now.
Yeah. So I think the film helps raise issues that need to be raised, and we need to watch these kinds of films so that we understand what's going on, and maybe that will help us use our votes more wisely. Get out and focus where it's effective. But it doesn't help us, so I really hope so.
I'm afraid we'll have to end it on a sad note there, but I wish we could talk more, but we've run out of time. Thank you very much. And that's it for this episode of Doctor Who. Thank you again to both my guests and to you.
This is the voice of the Islamic Republic of Iran broadcasting. The voice of the Islamic Republic of Iran is broadcast daily from 1920 to 2020 UTC on the following frequencies. Shortwave 49 meters, 6040 kHz for Europe, and 25 meters, 11,880 kHz for Southern Africa, and FM 91.5 MHz for Tehran. You can also listen to the voice of the Islamic Republic of Iran on Hotbird, Eutelsat 3D, and Iransat or Band 5, and via the internet. Our internet address is fasterday.com/en. And now you can listen to Arabi English radio via your mobile phone. Please refer to our website for the details.
Headlines this hour. Russia says the U.S. decision to deploy more troops near its borders will fuel tensions in Europe after Washington decides to send 3,000 extra troops into Poland and Romania. The Bank of England raises interest rates for the second time in 3 months as it comes under pressure to curb the country's surging inflation. And two major Palestinian resistance groups, Hamas and the Islamic Jihad movement, blast the Bahraini regime for hosting the Israeli Minister of Military Affairs, slamming its normalization with Israel. Small welcome to the studios here in the capital, Tehran. This is News. Thanks for joining us. Russia urges the United States to stop escalating tensions over Ukraine after Washington announced a decision to deploy thousands of extra troops to Eastern Europe. The Kremlin spokesman denounced the planned troop deployment, noting that Moscow's concerns over NATO's eastward expansion are absolutely justified. Dmitry Peskov said Moscow has been constantly calling on Washington to stop aggravating tensions in Europe, but to no avail. And Tuesday, Russian President Vladimir Putin warned against U.S. attempts to drag his country into a war, saying that Washington is more concerned about the security of Ukraine. The West has been accusing Russia of planning to invade Ukraine, a claim that Moscow has repeatedly rejected. we have talked to political analyst William Jones to get his thoughts on recent escalation of tensions between Russia and the West over Ukraine. He believes that the U.S. goal is to use the situation in Ukraine as a pretext to contain Russia.
There is no indication that Russia plans to invade Ukraine. The moves that they're taking on their border is on the border of a country which is in the state of a veritable civil war. And the reason they put the troops on the border is really to send a signal about not only about Ukraine, but also about the dangerous direction in which all of the agreements that have been made between Russia and the West since the fall of the Soviet Union are being violated effectively by the United States in this expansion of NATO right up to the border of Russia. Obviously, the United States, the West generally, the United States, is more interested in creating their own control over all of the parts of Europe that are not Russia. So that the goal here, although it's talked about in terms of the defense of Ukraine and victimization of Ukraine, is really an attempt to create a cordon around Russia, which they consider not only a rival and a competitor, but also a potential enemy. And by doing so, they hope that they can keep Russia in a platoon effectively, so that no moves are made one way or the other, which would end.
For his part, expressed his country's readiness to reach a good, lasting, and reliable agreement in Vienna. State talks focus on the removal of anti-Iran sanctions and Tehran's commitments under the JCPOA. Negotiations were put on hold last month for the negotiators to return to their capitals for consultations. And that does it for this edition of World News in
A diverse range of programs. Spirituality. Eastern Tales. Roundtable discussions. Culture. Politics. All produced by IRIB English Radio.
Islamic revolution and spread of Quranic culture. In the name of God, salam and welcome to the program. Dear listeners, we are in the 10 days dawn, the period marking the victory of the Islamic Revolution in 1979. The third episode of the special series on this anniversary will be dedicated to the role of the Islamic Revolution in bolstering and spreading the luminous culture of the final divine scripture, the Noble Quran. Stay tuned, please. The Noble Quran as the most important source of knowing Islam Besides presenting guidelines for individual life, has clarified political and social issues. The Iranian nation's revolution under the leadership of Imam Khomeini, God's mercy upon him, was staged through inspiration of Ayah 11 of Surah Ra'd of the Noble Quran. Part of the Quran are the concepts for life, not just knowledgeable. Sometimes one's Quranic knowledge is good, but there is no trace of the Quran in his life. We should try so that the Quran is embodied in our life. Just as one of the noble wives of the great prophet, when asked about the temperament of the prophet, answered, his temperament was the Quran. It means that he was the embodiment of the Quran. This should materialize in our society.
The first methodology that the Quran uses is to talk to the emotional side of the human being.
يا أيها الذين آمنوا, O you who believe, استعينوا بالصبر والصلاة.
And we have set forth for mankind in this Quran full of examples.
Minbar, a lecture on Islamic issues.
Islam is the way of life, a complete way. It's a complete way.
Dear audience of RIB English Radio, now we invite you to listen to a short speech by Sheikh Hamza Sodagar.
I would like to congratulate all believers, all lovers of the Ahlul Bayt, all of our community on the auspicious occasion of the birth of Imam al-Baqir, salamullah alayhi. We hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala helps us all to be able to take advantage of this month, beginning of the months of worship, ibadah, the months of remembrance of Allah. So back to our question, why should I? This dua is one of the Quran the one that when there is shar, I'm feeling safe and secure that it's not that you're angry at me.
You're listening to Voice of the Islamic Republic of Iran. This program is titled Minbar. Our email address is englishradio@irib.ir.
رحيم كريم عظيم عليم حليم حكيم متين غفور شكور ودود قيوم صبور اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد صلوا عليه.
What you heard was an IRIB English radio program. Please log on to our website, www.parstoday.com/EM.
in the limelight.
Nominating Supreme Court justices has always been about identity and politics. It's just that for nearly the first 2 centuries of the court's existence, the only people considered for inclusion were white men. The article you're about to hear has been written by Charles Lowe, an opinion columnist for the New York Times. The piece is titled, When All White Was All Right. You have just listened to the voice of the Islamic Republic of Iran broadcasting. The voice of the Islamic Republic of Iran is broadcast daily from 1920 to 2020 UTC on the following frequencies. Shortwave, 49 meters, 6,040 kHz for Europe, and 25 meters, 11,880 kHz for Southern Africa, and FM, 91.5 MHz for Tehran. You can also listen to the voice of the Islamic Republic of Iran on Hotbird, Eutelsat 3B, and Iransat or Band 5, and via the internet. Our internet address is parstoday.com/en. And now you can listen to RIB English Radio via your mobile phone. Please refer to our website for the details. Please send your correspondence to the English program, PO Box number 19395-6767, Tehran, Islamic Republic of Iran, or email us to englishradio@irib.ir. We would be very pleased to have your comments about our audio quality and other means. Thank you.